Hello, old friends, and welcome to this episode of What's Inside Your Box. In this video, I'm going to go into detail about what I take with me in the backcountry for photo and video gear. And if you're a sledder who likes to take photos and GoPro footage, stuff like that, then this video will probably be kind of interesting to you. I see a lot of really cool pictures on Instagram, which is kind of amazing because there's some great stuff on there. It's really cool to see the creativity. So most of you folks know that I am Rick's brother and that I shoot and edit most of the Digit 9 videos. What you probably don't know is that I've been a pro photographer for most of my working life. I've worked all over the world shooting in places like Haiti and Somalia and China and Turkey. So I've been through a few cameras. And the camera that I choose to take with me in the backcountry is a Canon 5D Mark IV. It's not very big, it's not very heavy for a DSLR, and it's a weather-resistant body, which is probably the bare minimum you would need in the backcountry. I also don't mind it getting bounced around on the tunnel and stuff like that because it's kind of built like a tank kind of camera. How do I know this? Because I've owned every iteration of the Canon 5D and I haven't broken one yet. Also, the specs for this camera, it says it's good for 0 degrees Celsius, but I mean, I've shot in -30, no problem. Temperature just is not a factor for this camera, whether it's hot or cold. Needless to say, I'm kind of stuck with Canon gear because I've been a Canon shooter for so long. I have the lenses, I have the accessories, I have all that stuff. But if I wasn't married to Canon and if I was starting from scratch, my camera of choice would for sure be the Sony a7S III. It's a beautiful camera that would just be ideal in the backcountry. But I have Canon glass, so that's what I'll stick with for now. I use Canon lenses called L lenses because almost all of the L series lenses are moisture and dust resistant. So essentially what happens is it creates a seal. There's like a gasket on the back of this lens that seals to the body. So snow can't get in there or moisture can't get in there. How do you tell an L lens? Basically this red stripe around it. I use this lens for shooting video and for Rick, like out in the field. It's nothing fancy, but it's a zoom lens. So it goes from 24 to 105 millimeters. The reason I use this lens is because it has a good built-in stabilizer, which allows me to hand-hold the camera and you guys don't get sick from watching the video. I don't take a tripod with me actually because it's kind of heavy and ugly and the legs are basically just like probes that go into the deep snow. On the front of this lens, you can see it's this black filter on it. This is a polarizer. And what this does is, you know, it's basically exactly like putting a pair of polarized sunglasses on a bright day. Its main job is to cut down on glare and stuff like that, but I almost always keep this on when sledding because it really boosts the contrast and the saturation to make those epic bluebird days look so crispy. You can see here how everything just looks so vibrant, not harsh. It's really like putting sunglasses on. Honestly, that's what it is. For batteries, I take 6 batteries in a pouch like this inside the case. A little trick I use is that I number the bottom of my batteries with a label. This way when I open the battery door, I see battery number 4 in the camera, which means 1, 2, 3 are dead, and it's time for battery number 5. This applies to GoPro batteries as well, because like who doesn't burn through 7,000 GoPro batteries on a cold day, right? So I only carry 2 lenses. It's 24 to 105, which is not really considered a wide angle at 24. And then I also carry a 70 to 200 for a little more range. Now this 70 to 200 is a bit of a guilty pleasure because it is awfully heavy. This lens weighs almost 4 pounds. So super heavy, but again, it's an L lens, it's dust and moisture resistant, keeps the snow out. You know, it's built like a tank. And it just takes amazingly sharp images. When I work normally, you move around with your subject or to and from, but when you're sledding, it's like impossible to get around because the snow is so deep. So that's why I take these two lenses to have range all the way from 24 to 200. Moving on to the drone. As you can see, this is a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. And on the front of it, I have a ND32 PL filter from Polar Pro. I won't get too technical about shutter speed and stuff like that. Just consider that the snow is super bright and your drone needs a pair of sunglasses. I'll actually put a link to this in the bottom because some of you might be interested in that. The Mavic 2 Pro is actually rated to operate 10 degrees less than the first edition of that drone. It's rated for -10 Celsius, but I fly this at -20 all the time, no problems. So I carry 3 batteries. I probably would go with 4 if they weren't so goddamn expensive. And of course, I have to bring the controller. The battery on the controller is the one thing that kind of gives me fits out in the field. So I bring this power pack to charge up that controller. I think the cold really hurts this controller. I do carry an extra pack of propellers in the case. I have a habit of damaging propellers and they're super easy to change in the field. So I bring those. Tucked into the side here are microphones. So I usually just put a mic on Rick when we get out there, put it on him for the day. It lasts with the batteries. This microphone transmits to this receiver. This receiver goes into my camera. For GoPro, I think this is a Hero 5, but I don't keep this in the case. I usually keep it on my body. I keep it in my pocket to try and keep it warm, and then the other times it's always on a mount. I think Rick has the Hero 8 because he's a baller and I'm not. And we usually take like 6 or 8 batteries for the GoPro.
Am I recording?
And to keep everything warm, I just use the tried and true little hotties, hand warmers. You know, I tuck them into the crevices and gaps and close to the batteries, mostly on that controller. It seems to be the best, easiest thing for me to do. And finally, I keep a few microfiber towels and a lens rag. Just try to keep everything dry during the day, wipe everything off. And in Digit 9 news, we've started building a new website, which is live right now. We have a little bit of merch on there. We'd certainly appreciate the support if you have the means. I'll put the link below. We also have a subscriber form on there if you want to stay in touch with us, and you know, we may have the odd promo code and stuff like that just for you guys. As always, the best support that you can give us is a thumbs up on the video, and certainly subscribe if you haven't already. I know most of you just want to see footage of Rico ripping on that 2-stroke turbo, but as I said before, if you find any value in the odd video about photography or want to go into GoPro settings or something like that, just let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to share my expertise and insights with you. So yeah, just let me know in the comments below. For those of you who missed part 1 of this video, you can watch the Pelican install right up here. For those of you who just want to see Rico on the turbo, I'll put a video right here. And you can click on that. So, take her easy. Lemon squeezy.